inspire, host, create, explore endless new possibilities, next level broadcasting. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks for listening to Teachable Moments with April. If you did enjoy this episode, I invite you to come right back to check out my podcast and my other episodes. Don't forget to listen, add us to your favorites, and support by clicking on the link in the description. As always, be blessed and be well. Until next time. Welcome back to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I am your host, April. Good evening, Miss Mary. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, April. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So we wanted to come really quick and talk about Paul Pelosi, the thing that happened to him recently. Oh, was it a week ago?
Yeah, around that time.
A week ago or so, something happened at the residency of the Pelosi's, and his wife Nancy was not in town, but Paul was at home, and somehow someone gained access to their home. That was what it was initially. You'll let me know if I'm making any, mistakes or whatever from what you've heard. Gain access was inside of her home, and he asked, I think they say his first name is David. His last name, I don't really know. I know that he's Canadian.
I cannot pronounce it.
And it looked like it might be French, maybe in origin, Canadian. So anyway, they said, and they hit him in the head with a hammer. That was what stayed. That was the information, more or less. It's very general, very surface information. But then I was telling Miss Mary that I heard something the other night, and from the news, and then after it's posted on regular TV, it goes to YouTube. So that's kind of where I've spoken of this before. That's kind of where I get my news for now, because basically it's just the facts, and I like that. But they said something, I'm not sure, was it on NBC or ABC? I think I'm leaning more toward NBC, and they keep updating everyone on any information. And some of the information that they gave to me didn't make sense, and I thought I heard wrong. So I didn't say anything to Miss Mary, but it kept kind of staying in my mind. And so last night, someone had commentary on their YouTube page, and they said that something is not right about the information, whether it be updated or whatnot, this case about Paul Pelosi and the intruder. And they heard and they understood the same thing that I did. So it wasn't just me not understanding, not hearing correctly. There's just something is not matching up. So evidently Paul Pelosi made a phone call at some point, and he referred to the young man by his first name, and he referred to him as a friend. Now, as to when he got hit in the head, we really don't know, because I've heard differing information. Some people say he was actually able to go to the front door. The young man was not that far from the front door, and they were struggling after he greeted the police and he said everything is okay, everything is good. They both kept saying the same thing. And then he ran over. Some people say he ran over. Some people say that when the door was open, they both had a hand on the hammer, and that the young man in his 40s, his early 40s, had his other hand on the forearm, the other free forearm of Mr. Pelosi. And people were saying, if all of that hand on top of the hammer, the forearm, so forth and so on, who opened the door? Because there would be no way for those two men to open the door. So a lot of things seem to not be matching up. As for how he gained entry, some people now are saying that there was a door, a side door. It looks like a glass door, a series of them on the side of the residency. But they're saying that they can't differentiate if it was kicked out, if it was inward or outward. Some people say it's both. Some people say that the glass was going outward, like someone was inside and it was knocked outward. So if he broke in, then why is the glass going outwardly from the inside? So what do you think, Miss Mary? Do you have any set opinions about this? Does any of this sound, as they say, kosher? Does this make sense? It sounds kind of, at first I was like, okay, they're getting all the information, and there might be some discrepancies because the information is coming in. But now the information is settled and it's in. They have cameras pretty much at every entry and exit point of that residency because they're political people and pretty well known. What do you think? Does it make sense to you? We'll never really know. But based on the information, does it seem like there's something more here? What do you think?
Well, I don't understand the whole thing. Before you mentioned it to me yesterday, I had, when it happened, briefly, they had just a limited amount of information. And they said that David had broken into the Pelosi's home and he was looking for Nancy.
Yeah.
And
where's Nancy?
Yeah. And that he had attacked Paul with a hammer.
Right.
And the police subdued him.
Okay.
That was all. And that, I took that. And he was rushed to the hospital.
Right.
He had a cracked skull.
Right.
And an injured arm.
Right.
So when that came up, I kind of stopped watching it. But then keep an update on it. Mm-hmm. And then last night you mentioned to me about some controversy about everything is not making any sense. So I decided that I would go to YouTube and see could I get an update on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was always curious about who called the police.
Right.
If they was entangled with hammers and their arms was all intertwined, why would a person that had hurt Nancy, how did this man, who called the police, how did anyone know anything was going on? Mm-hmm. But then last night when I was watching, they said that Paul told David he needed to use the bathroom.
Right.
And he went in the bathroom and called the police.
Right.
And he was speaking in code, which I didn't understand it because it was just that his friend David was over and a few other.
And he's waiting for my wife. And
right.
He's my friend.
Things like that. But what would make the police come over if he made a 911 call about his friend was over? I don't understand that. And then it further stated that that the police was present,
right,
when David clopped him in the head, and broke his arm or the head. He broke his arm in his hand. They added the hand to it this time. I don't, it's just too many things. Why wasn't the burglar alarm on? Why was the camera on?
Right.
Why did this man call the police department and
just to tell him that
his friend was over there?
His name is Dave and he's waiting for my wife and everything is good. So why did you call?
And why did the police come?
They kept saying it was a wellness check, which I find, I don't know if that
they
matches
don't check on me.
You make a 911 call, and they kept referring to a wellness check. They said that Paul sounded confused, and so they went over there. But what I found interesting, and some people that made comments or statements about it, about what happened, they said that the officers didn't know what residency exactly they were going to. But they did in other news broadcasts, saying that that's why they made it high priority, because of the fact that they recognized right away. And then I didn't get why, if they had all of this surveillance cameras, then did they check them to see? Let's just say they believed Paul Pelosi to be speaking code. He might have been compromised, scared, shocked. People did offer that. They said, human emotions, and in different situations, people can respond in a certain way that you thought you would think, if you're not in it, like, well, I wouldn't have did that, or that doesn't make sense. But why didn't they check the cameras that they had at every entry and exit point? Because someone said that they knew the estate of and that property, that particular home, and that they had at each entry and exit point, and they wanted to know why they didn't check it. And about the body cams, a lot of officers wear. Why? Right. Also that, and I find it weird that, like they also said, a lot of people agreed upon, is why would you, whoever opened the door, if there was a third person, or Paul opened the door, or David opened the door, then why did they go back toward each other and wrestle? Because to me, I'm not trying to be funny, but two people, it's night, you move away from the door, someone called, you go, and right in front of the police officers, one of you is holding a hammer. So I unless you're hanging up pictures, that's, to me, I don't know, maybe I'm being, defensive and overreacting. Someone standing in your home, whether it be you, me, or a third person holding a hammer, that's a red alert. That's a red flag, okay? Something is jumping off. I don't see no pictures. I don't see no you hanging up. And then you both put one hand on the hammer, how it is, and then he babopsied him in the head and fractured his skull right in front of the officers. So what was the officers watching him get busted in the head?
But when did he break his arm and hand?
Right, now they added hand on there. Then they said Paul was laying in a pool of blood. So all of this is happening after he busted him in the head. Some people made it seem like it was one time, but I'm kind of getting it. They said beat him in the head. So maybe that, to me, that equates more than once. Where were the officers after he opened the door and they stand in the door, asks, is everything okay? Why are y'all standing right there with a hammer? And then they start struggling. It is not okay. Someone holding a hammer is not okay. And you start, I don't know. But, and then you wait and he gets hit in the head and then he fall out and then he's bleeding.
Well, David said that he was only there so he could find Nancy, so he could break her kneecap, so he could roll her into the house.
That's a problem. He came there.
And a wheelchair. That's the only reason he came there. But now, why did he hit Paul in the head with a hammer? I still don't know.
They say he had a bag, and he had a second hammer in the bag with zip ties.
Right.
Okay, dude, you got one hammer, two hammer. One hammer is bad enough. Two hammers? And you came there, that's my friend, and he just want to wave my wife.
With all these hammers.
Why you need all these hammers? Why you need a hammer at all? One hammer.
That's true. But he said he didn't want to, if she answered the questions the proper way that he wanted, that he wasn't going to harm her. If she lied only then would he break out.
So they can wheel her into.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back. I didn't go past what Miss Mary said. Okay, so he had these ill intentions against Nancy. Nancy clearly ain't there. Okay.
Right.
Why? And we're asking you out there, why, oh why, did he hit Paul?
Right.
Why? The man is sleeping.
That's what they say.
Allegedly. And he gained access, but no alarms, nothing else went off. Okay? No. There's some funny business with one of them doors down there, but some people said that are close to this case said the glass was not knocked inward, it was knocked outwardly. That's what some people are saying.
Was Paul trying to get out?
Why? If Paul answered the question, said Nancy's not here, Nancy's gonna be gone for some days, why did you bop him? Wait and let him go to the bathroom, make a call, go downstairs, greet the police, and then proceed to fight and struggle, and he got bashed and his head fractured right in front of everybody, and then laid him full of blood. So when do we, that could have been avoided. You open the door and there's you and another man in there holding a hammer. That is, to me, that's a problem.
I'm trying to wonder right now, how many people was in that house?
Some people are trying to say it was a third person. I don't know who that third.
Fourth or fifth.
What was going on up in Nancy's house when Nancy was gone? I'm not trying to be judgy. And why did it involve zip ties and 2 hammers?
Broken arm, skull cracked, and taking out the knees.
Why? Now I want to know what he wanted to ask her. It was
maybe one day he'll tell us.
Why did you have to hurt Paul? That's what I'm saying. The man's already asleep.
Well, if he wasn't looking for Paul, why'd you hurt him in the first place? Was he awake or asleep?
He didn't have.
You were looking for Nancy, you said.
Why? So, guys, maybe if you see anything or know anything, maybe I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's something is wrong? And I told Miss Mary, I said, this reminds me. I want to bring up the past, but it reminds me of that young man from Empire.
Oh, Jesse,
Smollett.
Oh, okay.
Smollett, or Juicy Spaghetti. Some people called him that. Okay, that was a poorly constructed. I don't care who he swore on, his mama, God, baby Jesus. It was something wrong with that story. And look what happened. Something was missing right away, okay? I don't know why he did it. But it seems like I got a flashback of him. And now something with Paul Pelosi and this young man and hammer time. I don't know. To me, people standing around holding hammers is not my friend. You ain't my friend. You my friend? No. My friend ain't going to be up in here in the dark or with the lights on. It don't really matter. Holding a hammer. And they called. And he went to the door and he greeted them. And then he moved away from the cops. If he was speaking in code, why did he go stand right next to the guy with the hammer?
Why didn't he run out the door?
I mean, I'm trying to get out of here.
Deal with him.
You wake up and somebody asks you. They stand over you with a hammer and some zip ties. They say, where is Nancy? Nancy, where is she? And then he was allowed to go to the bathroom in his house. And then he called and he just said, because he spoke in code, my friend, his name is David. He's here waiting for my wife. Okay, everything is good. And then they came on over there. And then he opened the door, he greeted them. He repeated it like he was recording. And he went and stood next to the guy. And then all hecky broke loose. And then he ended up boop, boop, boop.
Do you know how many calls I have to place to the police?
Yeah, I do.
When I'm telling them that I'm in stress and someone is trying to beat me to death.
Well, we've called in the past. Now, the last time I think you called, they actually came.
Oh, yeah.
And the person that was involved, the other party, was not the most cooperative. But the other times we called before, they didn't even bother to come.
No.
I'm not, I'm glad they came over to Nancy and Paul's house.
And I'm paying for this.
And everything, and
But they ignore me.
But you know how that is. So, okay. I just wanted to come through and talk about that with Miss Mary. Why did this happen to Paul?
If you can have any answers out there, please let us know.
Please let us know. So have a good night and
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.